How does the auction process work for land when somebody wants to sell?
All right. Well, so I am a licensed auctioneer. That means the state of North Carolina has bestowed upon me the title of colonel, but no one will call me colonel in this office. I'm also a licensed minister, so I think I should be the Reverend Colonel Eric Andrews, accredited land consultant, but no one will call me that. So, all right, so I'm a licensed auctioneer, and there's some very good auctioneers in this area. We have a lot. It's a rural area, and there's some good auctioneers. Most of the auctioneers here, I would say, are primarily auctioneers, and they dabble in real estate. I went in with a completely different mindset. I'm a real estate guy that dabbles in auctions, and when I say I dabble in auctions, I want it to be an alternative method of selling property for my sellers, okay? But I don't think it's the best way of selling property for my sellers, and I do think the economy has changed somewhat. So we had our great real estate crash of 06 and 07, and on the cusp of that, auction was a great way of selling because people wanted that immediate liquidity, they wanted that immediate sale, and they saw that the market was falling and they wanted to get out as quickly as possible. With land, you can have an average of 1 to 3 years of days on the market, and an auction is 30, 45 days, and boom, you get your money. Well, when I first got into the auction business, when I first became a licensed auctioneer, I told people you're looking at 90 cents on the dollar. So if you have a $100,000 piece of land, 90 grand is what I'm going to be able to get you. And if you had one of the 4 Ds that we talk about, if it was a death, a divorce, or someone was severely in debt, or they were just desperate for their money, 90% wasn't a bad trade-off. You know, if you had to have the money immediately, and I said you could get 100,000 in a free market, take your time, or you can get 90,000 and I'll have your money guaranteed in 30, 45 days. The 90 cents on the dollar wasn't bad. But after the crash, the market kept on falling and falling. And we got to a point where we were 50 cents on the dollar, but also we were having a bunch of no calls. And no calls means I was gathering people at an auction site, either directly at the location, or we would rent a space, or I would have them here at the office, and I wasn't getting any bids. You know, people were coming out of curiosity and watching, but we weren't getting any bids. And it wasn't just me. I saw that happening to other local auctioneer professionals. The good thing for them is they could still do the pots and the pans and the tractors and the carnival glass and guns and whatnot. And so they still had a revenue source. And so they were fine in the auction business. And I was fine too because I was still doing the real estate business in the traditional way, whatever. But we both got a kick in the teeth as far as auctioning real estate. It was not being able to meet a reserve or 50 cents on the dollar or the no call. And the no call you feel bad about too because you charge the seller in advance for the marketing fees. So, you know, I would charge somebody, if it's an individual lot, $300 to $600. If it was a farm, it could be $3,000 of a marketing fee that the seller was paying for in advance. And to have a no call, that doesn't leave a good taste in anybody's mouth. I'm certainly working harder than the $3,000 that they paid, and all the money that they paid just went to marketing fees, and they're left with a bad taste in their mouth because they spent $3,000 and they don't have anything to show for it. So actually 2016 is the first year in a long time that I am not going to have any revenue directly produced from our auction services. I'm still actively licensed in auctioning, but I just didn't think it was a good method for people to capture as much reward as possible. I would say that we're probably in the 70-80% cents on the dollar right now. It's 80 cents on the dollar. So it is creeping back up. But if you're not super desperate for the money right now, I don't think it's the best way of attracting attention. The other difference between 2016, 2017, and 06, 07 is the pervasiveness of the internet. And so We can do eBay style auctions now on land where the seller has a minimum bid, and if it's met, that's good. But that's real close to what we're doing anyways when we market property. So when you list with me, you're going to be on 800 different websites. Well, if you go auctioneer or an auction specific website, you're going to be exposed to all the market as well. So it's not the creative marketing style that it used to be. If you have an older house that you don't want to go through inspections, it might work. Going back to those 4Ds again, death. We have people that pass away here in Chatham County. Their kids are in California. They don't want to deal with it. They just want their money 30 to 60 days from now. That can be a viable option. Unfortunately, divorce, neither side's getting along. Nobody, they can't agree on price. They don't want it to linger on 6 months or a year, whatever. They just want to liquidate. So a divorce, usually I'm working with 2 sets of attorneys, and we can handle the transaction for them that way. And they feel as though that, they're getting adequate exposure to the market, and they immediately get their funds. Debt. There are situations where people just have to have their money right now because they're facing a bankruptcy. They're facing some kind of financial crisis and everything. And so that's another option. And then desperation. And desperation doesn't always mean, all those bad things that we just talked about. Desperation could be you have another piece of property that you have to buy, or there's a business opportunity that you have to buy, or there's this rare exotic car that you have to buy. And so when someone's super desperate, as long as they can stomach the fact that they're not going to get full market price, auction might be a viable alternative.